Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wargaming.net League North America. This is Andre Great Peng Show, joined alongside my good friend, Randall Ruko Holcomb. Randall, what's up, man? Good to be back.
I mean, it's a little different today. There's someone else in the chair here.
That's right. It's not a hologram of yourself.
Yeah, I wish it was, or maybe Tupac, but it's actually physical Andre Great Peng Show.
That's right. Clutch had to go to Las Vegas, so he's like, "Hey, Andre, why don't we trade spots? And it'll be kind of cool." I was like, "You know what, Josh? Why not?" So I'm here casting another great day of World of Tanks action. Of course, last time I was here was in December, and a lot of things have changed since then. Let's be real.
Yeah, everything's on its head. I mean, all these teams that started off looking really weak and not nearly at the level to play in the gold have just turned it around. Teams that are at the top, like Simp, have managed to lose.
Well, let's actually take a look at that. We have Week 7 Day 1's recap, and we can see all the way on the bottom right-hand side, Simp losing there, as you said, big surprise against I Love Lamp.
Yeah, that was a 3-5. Also, you had Fun Gaming timed out in a tiebreaker, 5-4 that went to timed out, which is another surprise. Arbus, the Cunninghams, no big surprise that it went to a tiebreaker, but it goes to the Cunninghams, and then Elevate against Simply Irresistible with a 5-2.
Hey, man, Elevate's looking really good. I will say that. Simply Irresistible definitely need the wins tonight. They're not actually going to be streamed on the broadcast stream, but they will be playing as all these teams are. They're one of the few teams that do need to kind of make room. There's actually a lot of teams here that are on the cusp of either getting second place or staying in the playoffs. Of course, top 10 will move on into the playoffs at the very least. Top 2 spots are the ones that are going to be going to the finals regardless. Let's actually take a look at last time's non-broadcasted streams.
Yeah, we've got Victoria's Secret Hammer Time was a 5-0. Hammer Time showing up and not giving any room for them to breathe.
No.
Noble versus Penguin Mafia was a 5-3. Noble showing up a little bit better these days. Fear, which is the rename of Full Potato. They're now Team Fear, which is a little bit of the opposite side there. Paragon shift. And Roulette, 1 and 5 there. Top Tier versus Simple Tankers. Top Tier is turning it around and has 5-2 in that series.
That was probably the biggest upset, I would say, as Simple Tankers. You always think of them on the very, very top. Top Tier hasn't been doing well this season, but you said it continuously that Top Tier is looking better and better and better every single week. It's just a shame that we waited till Week 7 to really get there. But, they're pulling off some really good top-level plays, really good highlights, and we also had a lot of great highlights from last week. Last broadcast, rather. Let's take a look at those right now. Starting off with Fun Gaming versus Timed Out in a very closely contested series.
Yes, in the tiebreaker at the very end, Fun Gaming has the defense, brings an all RU-251 lineup with M41s, and charges, expecting to catch Timed Out exposed in the middle with some T-32s, but they know what's up, and they set up to deflect that aggression from the east. Fun Gaming walks straight into it. It looks like it's going to start out well for them, but they quickly lose momentum and are torn apart by the superior positioning of Timed Out.
Yeah, really, really interesting, I would say, execution in this last battle. I mean, the overall strategy looked kind of weird, and they just try to surprise their opponents, and sometimes that's what it's about. World of Tanks, you just go for those coin flips almost and try to surprise your opponent, get them off tilt, get them off balance, and you're able to just push them over. Of course, that wasn't the only closely contested series of last broadcast. We also had our other one with RBIS and the Cunninghams. Now, this, I didn't expect it to be this close.
Now, well, in some ways, yeah, because the Arbus was not performing very well in the past few weeks. They're on a losing streak. But with this one, they managed to match the Cunninghams all the way to the very end. But when it went to Himmelsdorf, I really enjoyed this because Arbus pulled some counter maneuvers which ordinarily shouldn't work. But they did succeed when it came down to individual player skill and Arbus's ability to just stay together as a team based on that player skill and come out ahead of the Cunninghams when it counted there.
Yeah, and they really actually affected the Cunninghams in the standings. If you look at the top 3 right now, Cunninghams are actually in 3rd place behind Hammer Time by only a single point. Remember, first spot and the second spot are going to automatically go into the finals up in San Francisco, March 15th. That means that the Cunninghams need Hammer Time to make a mistake tonight, and also they need to make zero mistakes. The pressure is on.
Yeah, it's just so incredibly close there. A few of these teams, tiebreakers, will mean that they could even fall in the standings and leave that top 4 and go behind that.
Of course, the upset of the night was I Love Lamp versus Simp. That was on Tuesday, of course. And here, I mean, is this a map that we can really say the teams don't know nearly as well?
Well, they have some experience this season, but certainly next to every other map in our pool, they don't. They don't have nearly the depth of knowledge and experience, but they play it exceptionally, and you see examples of that and of their incredible depth of knowledge. Heavy 20, for example, clutches not 1, but 2 battles. And in the second battle he has to clutch, he is at less than 100 hit points. 1 shell, anything will kill him. But he manages to take out both of the remaining members of I Love Lamp.
Yeah, really impressive play by him, but unfortunately for Simp, it just wasn't enough to conclude the night. And they pick up their second loss of the season. But Randall, you know, I was really sad that Clutch wouldn't be here. I was hoping for a tri-cast, but he's here with us in heart and in segments. Take it away, Clutch, on Repair.
Hello, tankers, and welcome to crew training. Any competent vehicle operator knows that the moving parts of a machine will break down, especially if they're getting shot at. When it comes to tanks, the tracks are the most common mechanism a crew will scramble to fix. That's where repairs come in. The repair skill increases a crew member's ability to fix a damaged module. Every single member of your crew has this ability, and it's highly recommended that it's the first skill that you research. When the repair skill starts gaining experience, you will notice a reduction in repair time when a module goes out of commission. Tracks, turrets, viewfinders, even the engine may need a couple bangs from a wrench after a lucky shot from the enemy. If you need to repair a module instantly, you can use a small repair kit, which you purchased before the battle began. You can also purchase the large repair kit, which adds plus 10% to the crew repair speed. Now, once this kit is used, that bonus is gone, but every single damaged module is fully repaired. Some tank commanders prefer to install a toolbox, adding plus 25% to the crew repair speed. If you can tell the difference between a wrench and a torsion bar, we'll make a mechanic out of you yet. Good luck, and we'll see you on the battlefield.
You know, there was a little glitch about a year ago in my account where I was supposed to get like 500 gold, and instead I think I got like 2 million gold on accident.
Yeah?
And everything was going well. Nobody knew anything about it. And then you come over and buy me like 1 million automatic fire extinguishers.
Always have automatic fire extinguishers.
And World of Tanks, they were like, wait a minute. We just got a huge purchase. They flagged my account and it got it all removed.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. I mean,
sad face.
You needed large repair kits, automatic fire extinguishers. If you can run those
That's
in every
true.
battle, you're going to watch your efficiency rise.
Yeah. I mean, it helps for sure. Our matches for tonight start with Noble Gaming versus Simple Tankers. This is a match very important for Noble, not so much for Simple Tankers, but they need to stay in relevance. Why do I say that? Noble right now is ranked 13th, and Simple Tankers Noble is ranked 12th, Simple Tankers ranked 5th, tied with 3 other people.
Mm-hmm.
They can't really get too far forward or too far back. That means they're going to make the playoffs, most certainly. But Noble, this is their time to actually catch up.
Yes, exactly. If they can kind of slow down Simple Tankers,
Yeah.
that's a team that they still have the potential to overtake if Simple Tankers were to just miraculously have that bad of a rest of the season.
Yeah.
But Noble is just needing every single win that they can, and they're bound to lose one of these maybe or get a tiebreaker, and
That's right.
And they just need to search for every win.
Match number 2 for tonight will be Roulette versus Timed Out. Now, Roulette is another team that also can come back, but it's very difficult. They have a lot of matches to make up, actually total of 5 matches overall. They can do it. There is a mathematical chance for them to make it into the playoffs. They just need to make 0 mistakes, as I was saying before, just like with Noble, and they are relying more heavily on other teams making mistakes to not get those wins.
Yes, to be more specific, Roulette can still achieve 25 points if they get all wins the rest of the season. If they don't and they get about halfway, then Roulette can get maybe about 20, which can still get them into the playoffs. So there's still a good chance they just have to keep that performance up.
That's right. Our match number 3 for today will be Elevate versus Hammer Time. Now, this is a really exciting matchup. Hammer Time needs to get this win to stay in second place. As I said before, only 1 point ahead of the Cunninghams. They're pretty far away from first place, which is Simp Gaming. But in second spot is Hammer Time. They need to get 3 wins in a row for them to be able to take that second spot and not have to go through playoffs at all.
Yeah, if Timed Out were to, if
Elevate.
Sorry, I'm being told right now that Twitch is down. We'll be right back in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the WGL NA.
Our expectations for the season is to, again, improve our gameplay and also entertain everybody that's watching the stream and supporting us. Essentially, I feel like being in the Gold League is already a success in itself. I mean, I'm here being interviewed in the middle of Los Angeles somewhere. Since our team's beginning, we didn't even think we'd be participating in the Gold League, and this is going to be our 3rd season in the Gold League, and I think that's a success in itself, but I would like to think that we would like to achieve more. For me personally, and I can't speak for everybody on the team, but there's basically two different things you got to think about. If you're calling, you have to think about everybody else as well as yourself. What are the strengths and weaknesses, strengths and weaknesses of the players, and strengths and weaknesses of the tanks they're in, and make sure they're I guess minimally and maximally affected for you to have the best chance of winning. So as a player, I would definitely say there's a lot of instinct taking hold. When and where you gotta be and fire and maneuver and everything else. A lot of the matches that I played, I remember as a blur, and they were there and they were over, and one shot can make the difference between you winning and losing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wargaming.net League North America. My name is Andre Greator Pengshua, joined alongside Phil Holcomb. We got a great show for you guys tonight of World of Tanks. And of course, I am here filling in for Clutch. I'm very excited for that. We want to tell you guys to join in the conversation over on Twitter and on Facebook, twitter.com/WGLNA, facebook.com/WGLNA, and don't forget to hashtag WGLNA.
Yep, and of course there's a question of the day, which is, who are you rooting for to get into the playoffs? Which team? There are a few guys down towards the bottom, and a few guys that have pretty much cinched it by now, but I think Noble's one of those teams we're going to hear a lot of responses about.
That's right.
Arbus to stay in it. Unfortunately, Timed Out 1 point shy of being able to make it, so I'm sorry, guys.
Well, we have the face-off ready between Noble and Simple Tinkers right now, so let's jump into that and find out what's going on. We're joined alongside Zombie Food and Jay Smooth, guys. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Hey, good to hear your voice.
I can't complain. Really, really doing well. We're going to start off with you, Noble. Zombie Food, there's this really, really tough situation that you guys are in where it's a no-mistake situation. How have you guys really gone into week number 7? How are you guys feeling? Do you guys feel like you're ready to take on this challenge?
Yes, I feel like we're ready. We feel a lot better than we used to during the middle of the season where we weren't doing so well. We're playing a lot better now than we were back then.
Okay, and what do you think has been the big change in your team to kind of help with that improvement?
We started getting people focusing more on just stuff that you need to do in order to succeed in the league, like making shots and everything. And we also have been having Anfield calls since it wasn't working too well with me that mid-season.
So you recognize that there was a problem needed for change.
Yeah.
Are you still in any kind of a leadership capacity?
Yep, I co-call where it's needed.
Okay, and that's on flanks. Is there going to be a change in your lineups or the tanks that you individuals are going to be playing?
You mean just tank choices during each match?
Like your tank choices or Enfield's tank choices to reflect your position?
Not too much.
All right. Well, obviously the pressure is on right now as you guys are just vying for that playoff spot. Of course, Simple Tankers, you guys are sitting a lot more comfortably. The pressure isn't on nearly as much. I'm sure you guys want to get into that second place, but it's hard for you guys. How are you guys feeling going into week 7, day 2?
We're feeling pretty good. Not as enthusiastic as I would have if we would have played better the other night. But we had the 3 games last week where we won. So feeling pretty good. Obviously, there's still some heat under us because it's jam-packed where we're sitting. So we still got to perform and we got to win.
Definitely, and we've seen a slow change with you guys too. I shouldn't say slow, but we've definitely seen a change in you guys' play. You guys have switched over from very brawly to, I would say, a lot more cerebral as the season's gone on. Are we going to see more of that this week, or are we going to go into your patented brawling?
Hopefully you're going to see whatever wins. No, we've just been playing a little bit of more flex, see what we see, and then make a decision. I still think our games get pretty brawly at the end. So you're not going to miss out on the aggressiveness of Simple Tankers.
All right, and now I want to address both of you guys on this one. I've been reviewing some replays, one of them of Noble. So we're going to be on proc and steps, and there's going to be a lot of passive scouts. I was wondering how you guys think you're going to handle this game of passive scouting. I'll go with Noble
I
first.
guess we'll have to be careful about where we put the passive scouts and where we shoot, what bushes we shoot.
Jay Smooth.
Yeah, don't check for accuracy scores after these games, I guess. I mean, you got to shoot to hit, and if we think someone's going to be sitting somewhere, we'll take some shots at it. But I don't know. I don't know why you think we're going to be passive.
I think that's what this game might come down to in some battles.
All right, gentlemen, do you have
Let's
any?
brawl every match.
I
Yeah,
think
that
he's
sounds
talking
good
to
for
you,
me.
man. I'd take that personal.
Do you guys have any words for each other?
Good luck.
All right. Hey, I think you guys forgot your crown, so you might want to come get it.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
It was left at a tea party that I think Anfield was at. So,
You know,
come
I
on,
always
get
tell
that.
I always tell Anfield to be careful what he's drinking at these tea parties.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
All right, gentlemen, thank you guys so much, and good luck in the battle and in your match.
Thank you.
Straight.
Okay, I think I need to explain that last question
Please
that
do.
came out. Okay, I watched one of the Noble matches that was non-broadcasted, and there was one battle on steps where literally a 59-16 from Noble's side and a 59-16 from the other sat 55 meters away from each other for, I think it was about 2 minutes. They did not move. They did not know the other was there. And coming from an observer standpoint, you're looking at it and you're like, just move forward a little bit, just a little bit forward, and you have it.
Forward
you
is the
spot
best
him.
direction.
And that's all that needed to happen, and it didn't. And it was the most hilarious thing to sit there as an observer and just watch both teams looking in just not quite that spot, like that little blind spot was each other's scout, and then eventually became this game of countering those positions and using counterplay around that little dynamic position to achieve victory. And I think it was from Noble, it would have been, oh gosh, it must have been Tuxzilla, I think.
Well, I want to actually concentrate a lot on Noble tonight because they're the team that, as I said, a lot of pressure on them. What do they need to do to really overcome the obstacle that is Simple Tankers?
I think that Noble knows how to play. We saw early in the season that they were able to bring the level of tactical and individual play. They had all of their basics down, and they should be able to play at least to a 3-5, if not the tiebreaker, against their opponent's Simple Tankers. And when I say 3-5, I mean win 3-5. But real quick, as we get into battle number 1, 1394 RU-251s and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs for Noble the Defenders. On the blue team, Simple Tankers attacking. We'll have 2 T69s, 1390, 2 RU-251s, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. Noble has a lineup that is set up just fine for this. They will be able to match Simple Tankers, at least on the battlefield, mobile, as far as mobility goes, and then hit points wise, it's actually not that far off. And right off the bat, we are going to see teams meet in the middle.
You know, it is interesting, though, that the defending team, I would say, is a little bit more, well, it is lighter than the aggressive team. So many times we've seen the opposite, where the defending team, like, whenever I put defender's advantage, it's normally they have a heavier lineup, and, of course, they get the more skilled shots, or I shouldn't say skilled shots, but the smaller reticle on the first shots, right? Their alpha hits a lot stronger most of the time because there's less misses.
Yeah, and real quick now, we are seeing shots traded back and forth. Major Issues taking it, Zombie Food as well. Hit points going down on either side, but no huge clash yet. It's really a skirmish, if you will. And we're seeing now an east-west polarization, as Noble, as the Defenders, is going to try and defend the east, while in the west, Simple Tankers is not taking control of either cap point and is still trying to shift into proper positions.
I like what we're seeing, though, with the lighter lineup, as it makes a lot of sense to play this very spread out opening. You know, you don't want to necessarily be trading, especially if you're, let's say, Zombie Food or Bananas to the Wall host. If we're staying right here, right, this is a situation where, because we don't have great hull down, we don't have a Pershing, a T-32, something like that, we're not going to trade cost efficiently. So spread out, wait until they push over, and then just kite and try to deny any sort of caps. Right now, they're in great position, and you can see actually there's a little bit of confrontation going on the bottom.
Yeah, we have T-69s, actually. Zakum with, that is Tofu Smurf in the north, are going to kind of pin the position of the middle of the map, kind of forcing Noble to take longer routes in order to travel safely south to north, north to south. And they may be able to engage, although it looks like they're being engaged upon. And that's Tofu Smurf taking a large chunk of his hit points from a volley, although that does allow Simple Tankers to peek up and over and punish Major Issues, although they are going completely up and over. They will lose Unknown One immediately, but Major Issues will follow quickly. Now, focus moves to Enfield.
Yep, J-Smooth actually losing a lot of hit points. Sovereign Duel and Blue Stealth on the top of that hill doing so much. Now, it's okay for these trades, I would say, so far for Noble. They're playing this really nicely. They have to kite like this. They're going to lose. They're going to trade. But the number one thing that they want to do is make sure that they're going to be able to stay alive. The more they stay alive, the longer they're able to kite. They don't want direct confrontations against these medium tanks.
Exactly. They want to try and just do a little damage here and there. But both teams now, I think, are going to have to rely upon their mobility. T-69s aren't that slow. They're fast enough.
True.
And medium tanks generally perform very well when you put them up against lighter tanks because they have just a little bit more armor. They're just a little bit heavier. And they can generally perform some roles that a heavy tank will, while not having to deal with a lot of the cons that a heavy tank will have, like being so slow that they can be outmaneuvered far too easily by simply circle strafing them.
It is interesting what we see, the rotation from Simple Tankers right now with the light tanks. They're actually going to swing over to the top cap. Right now, I think Simple Tankers are searching for a win condition. That's the real thing. It's like, how are they going to win? Well, they're up against light tanks. They have to be careful of not burning too much time because then Noble can just run away and get the win. So
Exactly.
that's why they need to have some sort of engagement. Now, Tuxzilla is in a good position. He can actually put damage onto any tanks that are capping, and I think Angry White Guy is going to try to screen that as best as possible.
Yes, as he moves forward, I like the cover fire from Tofu, Wallhacks, and Executives. They force him out of position, and then Zakum, from the middle of the map, is now engaging on Tux from an angle I don't think any of the Noble players can really counter all that well. And with that, Simple Tankers is going to start to force the engagement. They're going to put that timer on him, 45 seconds on the clock with 2 minutes left, which means that Noble will be forced to respond. The usual response is to move in from the south, and we should see a little bit of pressure from the north, probably Tuxzilla, just to try and distract Angry White Guy so that he can't help with any support fire.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, the vast majority of every Noble tank should be going along the middle, south of the map, to begin working on that pressure.
Here we go. I love the positioning, isolating all the tanks that are on cap right now so they can overmatch against Tofu Smurf and Zakume. And this might work out pretty well, but they just need to be careful. Okay, the tanks did step off cap. So what do Noble do? Do they continue with this engagement and go for the even numbers? Or do they try to back up? And, well, it looks like they're not backing up.
No, it looks like also we have Simple Tankers taking advantage of timing. We've got a kill in the north. Now every single Noble tank is on the low ground to the south of Simple Tankers, who have that advantage working for them. Also, Angry White Guy will be able to join the fight in about 45 seconds, I expect. But Zombie Food and Bananas, they can still do some serious work if they can take down Tofu.
Ooh, it did bounce once, but Executus will go down eventually here. I love how Noble has played this out.
Whoa, hold on
Really,
a second,
really
though. They are
powerful stuff.
paying for it. Simple Tankers deflecting that aggression perfectly. There was a chance that Executus was going to go down, but now it's Zakum and Angry White Guy versus Blue Stealth alone. Noble didn't really stand a chance.
Wow, kind of a crazy game. If you look, actually, I was watching the hit points through that, and Noble had the HP advantage for a lot of that, and then, of course, just got shredded a little bit later on with just the superior DPM. I would say, we talk about this over and over again, how Simple Tankers are the guys that are a lot better in brawls. I love how they initiated that fight. With that cap, they got nice screening, and as soon as you cross over the west side, or from east to west, it's hard to go back over to the east. It's hard to retreat from there, so they're really committed, and that's why you saw them go off cap and then just get the really nice brawl.
Yeah, exactly. Simple Tankers knew they had to force an engagement, and that was what was important. You brought this up, that when the time was starting to get short, that Simple Tankers did not have enough time to play around with trying to work their enemy down, to whittle them down. They had to force the engagement, and the best way was to take advantage of their cap,
That's right.
which the maneuvers that teams have worked out are getting predictable, because the best responses are well understood. It's usually that same approach we saw from Noble. It's the best strategy available right now to stop that cap. And for when you're positioned to the east, going across the north is suicide. Going across the far south takes too long. Your only approach is that, and it's starting to get countered. And Simple Tankers knew that. Every single person on that team knew what to do, and even the tanker in the north was able to identify that there was a 1v1 in which he had an advantage, and so he could get a kill there. So Simple Tankers, I think, won that battle. It doesn't even matter about individual play. It was just basic tactics right there.
I agree. And also understanding where your advantage is. The fact that you don't have a hull down tank actually makes it incredibly hard for you to stop that cap, right? Normally, a hull down position is going to stop a west side cap. And if you have a T-32, a T-69, any medium or heavy tank in that spot that has good hull down, you're going to be able to stop that cap pretty effectively. If they had that, I think they would be in much better position, but they didn't. They had light tanks, so they had to go for a full commitment rather than just backing off and playing that trench warfare game. Battle number 2 is underway, ladies and gentlemen. What do we have for tanks, Randall?
For tanks, a T-32, 1390, 3 RU-251s, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs for Noble. On the defense, attacking, Simple Tankers brings a single 1390, 4 RU-251s, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. So instead of bringing T-69s, they're going to go for that higher mobility attack, where they're hoping, I believe, to take advantage of the T-32. Now, a recent change and shift in the meta is because of counterplay focused around the middle recently, T-32s are no longer taking the best hold-down position to defend the west side cap that you were talking about. And they will at times, but they will still hold back from that, knowing that something like what Simple Tankers is currently trying to execute on could occur. Tuxzilla getting caught out in the open. Yes, shots fired, but Tuxzilla is down to half hit points, a little bit less than that even.
Yeah, super brutal. We've seen Simple Tankers do something like this, a football lineup all the way on the F line, even committing past this once they feel that they have an advantage. Overall, though, just based on where the position of the T-32 is, it's not really able to do what it needs to do. It wants to be on the front line there. It wants to be the one. Oh, Tuxzilla taking another shot, and down he goes.
Wow, Angry White Guy using the M41's high fire rate to take advantage of his small window of being exposed there to take him down. Now, the reason they're holding back with Blue Stealth is that look at the way Simple Tankers attacked. Their opening move. Their opening move was designed to kill a T-32 in transition to about Echo 5, Echo 6. They do not have time to reach that before those light tanks get up over and can zero a shot.
Or I would even say take advantage of the distance that exists between the T-32 and the rest of the light tanks. If they all converge into the center, well, if it's light tanks against light tanks, look at how many light tanks Simple Tankers have. Of course they're going to get that advantage in the center there, and because of that, they net a huge kill on Tuxzilla. Still, the T-32 is going to make a slow transition to the top. That's why I think moving over into the east side makes a lot more sense for Noble, and now they're going to try to take the center position. They have to be careful, though. Being a tank down is pretty gigantic. That's a lot of DPM, but look at the health. It's not that different.
Yeah, it's Simple Tankers is 6,700, whereas Noble is 6,400. That's not a big enough difference to really decide the match. It's not a damning number to be at. And now, as you're seeing this distance kind of widen between the two tanks, and Simple Tankers leaving any part in the east, going full west, we might be able to see the hit points of that T-32 come into play, and the armor and its hold down capabilities, because this is optimal. Range, high enough ground, and by high enough ground, it's about even from any of the positions Simple Tankers is going to hold. And then, of course, the range is important, because light tanks are not going to be as effective at range as the T-32. It's harder to hit those weak points, and there only exists one real weak point when you're in hold down as a T-32.
Man, Angry White Guy is being very bold, moving all the way up there. Of course, there is like a defilade right there that he can kind of move into, so it's not too bad, but it's still very scary to be all the way up there with the rest of the team all the way on the west-hand side.
They are deliberately covering his approach, though. They're covering all the angles that would be attacking him, so he's being kept safe. And if he does go down, hopefully, for the sake of Simple Tankers, they're able to get the damage out to really punish their opponent for taking the risk and trying to deal with Angry White Guy. Now, they are going to push on the cap. We've got Executus and Unknown One and RU-251s moving in that direction. At the same time, J-Smooth is far to the south, kind of in a flanking position, while Wallhacks and Tofu Smurf sit in the usual bowl that we see a lot of other mediums and heavies go into, but is now occupied by lights.
This is the time for the T-32 to really show its colors. I mean, this is the exact moment that you're looking for. You still do not want to go for a full-out engagement into that bowl. It's almost like the defender's advantage would go to Simple Tankers, but still not stepping up to actually stop Executus or Unknown One from really getting this. Oh, well, there it is.
Well, that shot's fired. Executus hides passively in a bush, but they fire into his position. I guess he was spotted. Yes, he was.
And here's the push. Zombie Food actually pushing up pretty far ahead here. And he is pretty low as well, trying to get the flank against Wallhacks and Tofu Smurf. But again, he is not too strong to be able to do that. 5 seconds on the cap.
5 seconds just as Blue Stealth moves up in a hold down, but it looks like Major Issues may be the one to go over. Just at the same time, Sovereign Zool is making the approach, but Simple Tankers are calling to get off cap, and they will move forward to focus on Sovereign Zool first, and then shift towards Major Issues. Unknown One does not shirk back after taking a hit, and that's Enfield Sovereign Zool down in exchange for Executus. Now they move on to Major Issues.
Yep, and Zombie Food all the way on the top, or on the bottom, is going to be segmented. Although Bananas to the wall host is going to make it in time and try to help out his friend.
Oh, Angry White Guy misses one crucial shell on Major Issues. He needs to get this kill, and he does, just as Tofu goes down. And on the other side of the map, we have Wallhacks taking down Bananas to the wall host. It is now a 2v1. Wallhacks and an RU-251 at full health, and in the high ground against Blue Stealth, a T-32 at full health, and Angry White Guy, a half-health M41 Walker Bulldog. M41, if he can get close enough to Blue Stealth, he can make this work. Also, he needs to be able to leave when Blue Stealth approaches, because Blue Stealth knows that there are 2 tanks left. One of them he can take care of easily while on reload. The other, he doesn't really want to bother with yet because he does not have the advantageous position. But Wallhacks might be able to punish Blue Stealth for at least trying to go for Angry White Guy.
Yeah, right now Wallhax misses his first shot here, but he's going to constantly be putting shots in the back of Blue Stealth. Minus 264, Angry White Guy is just going to keep circling around this rock, making it incredibly hard. 1 minute and 10 seconds left in the battle. So it looks like the blue team Simple Tankers do need to do something here. But I do want to mention that this is now 2 battles in a row where there's a good chance that Simple Tankers are winning as the aggressors.
There is a strong chance that they can do it, but they can mess this up. Blue Stealth has the possibility to clutch this, but as a heavy tank, Light Tank should be able to outmaneuver him.
Yep.
And now that Angry White Guy is reloaded, this 2v1, they can just keep firing into his side. Angry White Guy has the damage, and Blue Stealth, well, there you go.
There it is. GG, and Simple Tankers will get it. I love the fact that they're pulling off cap and going for the right engagement. We've seen it so many times where, you know, teams will stay on the flag cap, and really there's no chance that they keep the cap.
Yeah, someone's gonna stop it, and you're not in a covered position. You might as well get off because you know you've gotten your opponent into the position you intend to get them into. You've baited them out of their cover, and now that they're in the open, you can fight them face to face, which is what Simple Tankers is going to look for because, I mean, we've talked about this plenty of times. Brawling is what they do.
Absolutely. And if you saw at the end, I love that you mentioned it, the T-32. How much health did it have at the end? Full hit points. Why is that? For those situations. We saw equal hit points, but because the T-32 is so much slower, has so many hit points, wait until the end where you can just outmaneuver it and then you can outplay your opponent. There's really nothing that that Noble could have done in that last battle, well, in the last phase of the battle, to be able to win there. That 2v1, a T-32 cannot keep up.
It just can't. You can if you get the right positioning, but of course Blue Stealth left any kind of a strong position to try and deal with the situation. I think on defense, though, he could have tried to go for something safer that he might have been able to defend from and at least see them approaching or something. I don't know if forward was the best direction right then. It's hard to tell, though, because in such a clutch situation, it's individual player decisions along with play style. We could have seen so many different just branches of options that each player had.
But look at how powerful that T-32 was, right? They were pretty close till the very end. And also remember, in the very beginning, it was a 6 versus 7. It was not a full 7 versus 7 because they got a guy picked off in the super early stages of proc. So the power of heavy tanks and even medium tanks as the defenders, it's pretty high.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can bring light tanks in to kind of counter out certain aspects. So there is a strong cycle that you have to pay attention to when you're choosing heavies, mediums, and lights. Now, as we get into battle, we see that Noble, now on the attack, has brought a single T-32, 1390, 2 RU-251s, a T-49, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. On the other side, Simple Tankers is bringing a very standard 2 T-32, 4 RU-251, and single T-37 lineup, which is so strong. And it's going to utilize the T-32s as kind of an anchor.
Yeah.
And
most likely going into that center control that we always see them having. I think center control is so incredibly important on this map. I mean, we have so many situations in the past, I think, where we see these Battle Buddy T-32s just holding down the hammer in that center and giving them the options to do whatever they want. They actually see all these tanks traversing across. There's no chance that there could be an overmatch. That's too many hit points in the front, and at the same time, they're able to hold down against this center versus center battle. I don't think Noble can stay here. They're just going to get eaten alive if they stay here.
They do need to put distance between themselves and their opponent, but they do have a T-32 of their own, and he's just now getting towards the fight. Blue Stealth has just arrived in the middle. He can begin to grab the attention of Zakum and Wallhax, and while it is a 2v1 at range, he should come out behind, but with proper support, they may be able to appropriately punish those T-32s for attempting to deal with him. But there appears to be a little bit of damage traded on either side in the north. You're going to see major issues able to look either way as he fires back into Wallhax and Zakum through a tiny hole under the tracks. And you're going to see Simple Tankers on the defense here. 3 tanks up north against Zombie Food, who has wasted 1.
It should stalemate up there. There's no chance for them to really get any substantial, consistent advantages, I think, just because there's so much clutter. Really, it's going to come down, in my opinion, to these T-32s. in the center. I keep talking about it because I think they're the most important tanks at this juncture of the battle. They're the ones that can make things happen, and if they keep playing this trench warfare, it doesn't matter. 2 T-32s over 1 T-32, or even 2 T-32s trading up against light tanks, I'll take that trade any day.
Well, we just had a bad trade on the side of Noble. Enfield, who was in that T-49, that derp tank with the 152, just went down. He got a little bit too aggressive. He kept trying to go for that under the train shot, and he just stayed there too long and got torn apart. It was not an ideal situation for him. I think that was just getting a little greedy right there, expecting for that one big RNG roll. And this is what we were waiting for. Noble needs to put pressure on the cap. They have to force an engagement from simple tankers, but you've got Executus in the right position to stop that, and he had the perfect angle just underneath the train. There's just a little bit of room under there that you can go through, and with that you can make shots onto the cap safely without having to actually go up and over.
Well, it's going to be tough for them to keep this going, in my opinion. As Kraft Lawrence, it looks like he's going to be cycling all the way to the south side. He's going to get shots, free shots as well, on the T-32 Blue Stealth. And there it's going to be started. The first one fizzles, though. And there he goes.
There we go. He can keep this up for a long time.
Yeah.
That T-37 doesn't have to worry about a clip or anything. He does have a decently fast reload. Doesn't hit super hard, but given enough time, he's going to deal plenty of damage.
Exactly. It's more of a, hey, do something, but you cannot stay there, or you will be chipped away, and eventually you'll die. Eventually you'll die. It's going to be a while, but, you know, minus 122. These consistent attacks will, well, it'll lose
add
the
up.
game.
Yeah,
It'll lose
it'll
the
add
game.
up, and you will come out behind. Now look at the hit points. While we have a moment, Noble at 3,800 and Simple at 5,600. And while it doesn't quite appear to be that one-sided when you look at the battlefield, it is going to go to Simple tankers if they decide to go for that all-out brawl, and if they can time it right.
Yeah.
But if we keep seeing these weird trades, these tiny bits of damage chipping at Noble and Simple tankers underneath the trains, this is the kind of battle that's going to come down to that RNG factor, that you have this tiny hole to fire through, and sometimes you're just not going to be able to connect. A little bit of head games here and there, but
Rue, is it really RNG though? Because if we think about it, like, yes, you're talking about RNG, but just based off the lineups, I mean, again, I'm going to go back to the T-32. On paper, if you have a heavier lineup and you're going through this trench warfare trades, the heavier lineup should win the majority of the times, right?
You are right about that, and I think you can then point out Zakum from there, who's still sitting at 1,308. But now, I guess we're not going to have time. This is the engagement. Simple Tankers decides now is the time. Issues is the focus. One more shell from Angry White Guy does finish him, and they move on to Sovereign Zul, but Blue Stealth is almost done. It's Angry White Guy just explodes.
Yeah, not looking good though for Noble, as they are just reducing and hit points. Sovereign Zul, oh, they do get a kill there, which does help out. 1,500 hit points, actually 1,300 hit points now to 15. So it has kind of evened up a little bit here, but you know, it's still very difficult because it's 1 minute and 35 seconds. That means they have...
And now Craft's down. Never mind. Okay, this is now certainly an even battle. We've got Wallhacks sitting healthy. Blue Stealth is not. Sovereign Zul and Bananas the wall host, though, if they can avoid taking much fire for the next few seconds until we see Sovereign and Bananas loaded and ready for combat, then we can see people start to trade. Because Unknown One held back instead of engaging against Sovereign while he was reloading. That was a crucial time that Simple Takers could have gotten an advantage. But now Sovereign Zul has a lot of damage that he can put out very quickly against Unknown One and against Tofu.
First one missed. Looks like Sovereign Zul might go down here. Yes, he does. Not able to release his whole clip. And that's unfortunate. 53 seconds left. Guess what? You don't actually have to engage. Tofu Smurf from here can actually run away and just play the attrition game. Not really worry. Looks like he's not going to... Oh, no, he's going to do that. Tofu Smurf
is he going to be able to get the distance? Bananas is just getting close enough. If Tofu leaves that rock, or... Oh, he's not going to use that rock as a way to... as cover to drive away, knowing Bananas' angle, but he doesn't.
No, it looks like he's just going to cycle around now. Just make sure... Oh, looks like he's going to die. Unfortunate for him. So it's just down to wall hacks. Can he stay alive for 15 seconds? He's going over the tracks. Oh my god, if he can get this kill on Blue Stealth, but Blue Stealth has one more shot. It's not going to be enough.
Wallhacks gets it.
All right, 5 seconds. Bananas the wall host will not be able to catch up to his opponent. I mean, this is a clear example of also being able to aggress in time. And it's hard to get that, but I'm still very impressed because they won the brawl overall. Noble did. They won the brawl overall. If there was just a minute longer in the battle, they would have won. But sometimes, you just need that time in the center game to actually get that advantage at that end game.
Yeah, and also, of course, the last shell, which could have finished it, was a miss. So that could have been the game-deciding one right there. We have a situation where both teams are able to whittle each other down to the point where when they begin the engagement, if their focus fire is proper and they're able to get on point enough, then they are going to be able to either roll over their opponent, or if their opponent responds appropriately, they might find themselves just dropping one by one very quickly. It depends on whose focus fire is better, who makes the better connections, a lot of those little things, but you're going to have a higher risk scenario for your individual tank because instead of it taking 3 or 4 or 5 shells to take you down, it now takes 2.
Yeah.
Which means you cannot make any mistakes at all. There's no room for error. And that's, I think, what decided a lot of that brawl with the light tanks going up and over.
And that polarizes the autoloaders, I would say, right? Because it's either the autoloaders are going to do a lot of damage very fast and kill a lot of tanks really fast, or they're going to do basically nothing because they get killed super fast. So it's really important to see where your autoloaders are positioned, how they're doing their damage, whether or not the right tanks are being traded out, because you don't want those consistent fire tanks staying alive nearly as long, since you can remove a lot more tanks with autoloaders very quickly. That being said, if we just go off of expectations, I'm really impressed with Noble. Even though they're down 3-0, they're in a position where, on paper, I would say they're not supposed to have favorable trades. They're coming up even. It's just very unfortunate with the RNG.
Yes. And now Noble, the red team attacking on their final attack on Brohorovka, will have a T-32, 1390, 2 RU-251s, Enfield and a T-49 again, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. Now Simple Tankers is going to have 2 1390s, 3 RU-251s, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs this time. So a little bit of a change there. And as we jump over to the blue team to see what they're doing, Simple Tankers is going to be heading east mostly, while Angry White Guy in the M41 is going to run that mid-scout. On the south, Noble is doing something very similar, but they'll be sending Sovereign Zool in his M41 to the middle on a slightly more eastern route, and I expect him, yes, to cross over those tracks and rejoin the rest of his team.
I think if you're running a light lineup as the defenders, you absolutely have to go over to the east side. There's no question about it. Because if you stay on the west and your opponents go to the east, they just go on cap and say, brawl me. And you're forced to cross the tracks, unfavorable engagement, and at the same time, you're forced to walk into potentially heavier lineup. We're all light tanks, so go over to the east side, make sure they're not capping, and then from there, you can kind of figure out what you want to do and adjust.
Exactly. And now we have, this tactical situation that we're looking at, though, that Simple Tankers has walked into. They're very split apart, and you have Zombie Food on the high ground, able to punish J-Smooth and Wallhacks. Now, he only has a moment to get a little bit of that damage out without taking any return, but Noble is just getting wrecked.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, okay, staying out in the open, both players exposed, there's not enough cover fire on every angle, and you see them, both tanks in that engagement, both M41s, who, they could have been a 1v1, it could have gone to Noble's favor, but Simple Tankers had cover fire, and then Noble brought in their own cover fire when it became necessary, and so we have that little trade out. Hit points, almost even. There's about 100 difference, a little bit more, but that's
pretty
inconsequential.
negligible.
Yeah,
Definitely so. So right now we just have defensive play coming out of the defenders and also the aggressors. Really, either team can't really push forward all too much, as these are pretty locked down positions. Where does Noble go from here, though? Where are they really trying to get the aggression? Are they going to rotate over to the west side and go for that cap pressure? Because I feel like the east side pressure, or east side cap pressure, is only capable if your opponents aren't on the east side.
Yes, and that's why I think that Noble is going to switch over to the west, which they are currently, which is, I think, a strong play. But they need to pay attention to the fact that Simple Tankers had tanks in Alpha 6, allowing them to flex their attention from the east to the west very quickly. And you can see that they've now picked up on this, knowing that Noble is left, and now shifting from the west side of the tracks to the east, are going to then shift their guns to cover that approach and then prepare for Noble's attack, which will be coming towards the cap, and it will force Simple Tankers to respond, putting that timer on them, and it's going to be all on Noble. Can they predict the response from Simple Tankers? And then can they deflect that aggression? Because it will be coming, and it probably is going to come across the south with some tanks in the north as well.
Honestly, I like the lineup from Noble right now. I think they're doing a good job at making sure they're covering their bases. You can see that they're understanding that that blue stealth over here can be picked off very, very easily if they get overmatched in that center. And that's normally where a lot of the blue tanks will be coming from, that center line. They're just going to be gunning over. Blue stealth is there, and now actually going to try to put pressure on the north side, but needs to be super careful because there could be a plethora of tanks coming in from the EF line.
Exactly. Now, there's something curious that just happened. I'm looking at a Gnome 1 and Tofu Smurf.
Yep.
Tankers that are now south of Blue Stealth's position. They were going to shift south to respond to this cap pressure, but they hesitated and held back, which tells me that Simple Tankers might not have the best read on the situation. They might misread and think that Noble is incredibly heavily fortified right around the area of Echo 6 where Blue Stealth is, because they wouldn't have a T-32 there unless there was a good reason. Yeah, you know, it's bait, or it's going to be such a strong position to walk into that you can't respond that way. So Simple Tankers are in an awkward, they've placed themselves in an awkward position based on their intelligence, and oh gosh, they're just going to go up and over.
Yeah, they're going to go for the big surround too. And here we go, 3 tanks overmatched against 2 tanks. Banana to the wall host and Tuxzilla probably need to get off cap at this point and get out of here, but no, they're going to stay and try to engage while there is an overmatch on the south side. Blue Stealth, of course, is going to be the one that receives most of these guys, but Wallhack's going for the wrong guy, the T-32. You do not want to be focusing him down.
Well, he is down now. At the same time, they will take down Tuxzilla as well. Banana's unable to get the kill on a known one, but J Smooth goes down in that T-32 attack, and so does Wallhacks. They've lost 2 crucial tanks because of that.
That's pretty incredible, man.
A lot of autoloaders are down. They still have consistent fire working for them, though, and Kraft Lawrence does count as that autoloader, although they will trade out Unknown One, I think, unnecessarily in exchange for Bananas.
You know, I talked about this before. Ordinarily, you don't want to be going for the T-32, as it does do good damage, but you know, you can kind of force it not to do nearly as much just by keeping up and making sure that you're constantly moving and forcing them to miss a lot. But they're able to focus so much fire on the T-32 first, which could have been a tank and a half of other tanks, the other light tanks. Still, they're able to win the brawl. This is a clear indicator that Simple Tankers are just really, really strong at the brawl. They're up 4-0. 4-0 on proc.
Yeah, they really are. Then I think what's also important to pay attention to is when they attacked the T-32, this was a situation where the T-32 wasn't as well supported. But earlier in the match, you're seeing different levels of support. You're seeing both teams able to shift fire when it's appropriate to defeat those light tanks scouting on the fringes, on the outside there.
Also, I mean, I will say now that it looked kind of disorganized with the defense. I mean, there was an overmatch coming from the top that really initiated things, and they had tanks to support the T-32, but they were all looking to the north side. That was already a lost cause almost. It looked like it. I feel like if the Rusted Noble actually focused on the south side, denied all that stuff, and then just left the light tanks that were coming in to eventually come over to the center, they would have been able to win the bottom side, lose the top side, and it would kind of square out.
Yeah, I think that Simple Tankers just had a better start on that attack too. I think generally, like when it came to it, they went up and over in the north, and I don't think Noble was expecting that much of a force coming over. They didn't expect 3 tanks. They expected maybe 1 tank to come over. Well,
they knew 2 tanks were up there because Blue Stealth was actually in the center there, spotting for that. He actually put damage over onto the top, so he should have been able to see.
There was that, but I don't think they expected Simple Tankers to not shift.
I see.
Because usually you'll shift more tanks to the south for that attack, to overmatch heavier, which would have allowed them to win the north, then shift their forces back south to reinforce. It's just such a complicated issue where just 1 or 2 tanks extra in the north threw off Noble's expectations.
Well, it is match point right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to jump into battle number 5. Remember, it's do or die for Noble, so they have to basically go 5 battles straight, and even that, they needed the 3 points, and if they win here, it's only going to be 2.
You're right. And now, as they go into steps, it's going to be Noble on the attack with a T-32, single 1390, 4 RU-251s, and Tuxzilla in that 59-16. On the other side for Simple Tankers, a very standard defense with 2 T-32s, single 1390, 3 RU-251s, and a T-37. So they are bringing more hit. They're a more top-heavy group, but they have that T-37 with its mobility, and it's a little expendable. So they have some options there. I think Simple Tankers is in a good spot to finish this one out and get that 5-0 that they really want, because that's going to give them a nice boost to everyone's morale on the team.
This is the normal thing we're going to see. West side versus east side, with the west side being the aggressors, the east side being the defenders. And I would say the standard on this map is actually to take the north across the train tracks for the aggressors, so that is Noble. And to go for this screen cap. And I've been seeing a lot of like meta switches and preparing for this already. And there's a lot of teams, and I think Simple Tankers do this a lot, is they actually swing their guys all the way from the south side and have a south flank and converge against that cap.
It's just so much harder to deflect that aggression when it's coming from those two directions.
That's right.
Especially if you can soften your opponent up a little bit more before you start that, so that you can maybe have a weaker T-32 to start that aggression on. Maybe the scout that you're going to meet in the south is going to be weaker, or maybe they'll be more split apart because you've played around with other flanks and put some damage out there. They don't know where you're coming from because you've already attacked a little bit from every single angle.
Well, I've also seen, as the aggressors, them knowing that that's coming and letting it happen and then overmatching on the north. And they go for this trade, normally killing the heavier tanks, but because they have auto-loaders in the north side, they're able to burst down the heavy tanks really, really quickly and gain that little advantage, run away, and then go for the second engage for the win.
Yes.
So that's definitely been a possibility, but we don't really see that setup so far from Noble. It looks like they're just trying to screen this cap as best as possible. And I will tell you, with all the games that I've been watching, this doesn't work nearly as often as the other counterattacks do.
Yeah, I would agree. However, these do sometimes work, and I think they need to happen from time to time so that people don't forget them. So
They stay honest, right?
Yeah, you got to keep them honest, because if they start to create those harsh counters for the flanking forces, then what'll happen is you'll always expect them to be prepared for a certain situation,
Sure.
and then you'll begin to ignore possible options that you could begin exploiting.
This is a ton of position, by the way, that Simple Tankers is giving up. I mean, this is an extra probably minute of fighting that they have to go through just to break on to the base cap. So I expect... okay, whenever something like this happens, I actually say Simple Tankers are probably a little bit behind, because the time it takes the heavy tanks to move over and the light tanks to move over, they're actually isolating their light tanks, and then the heavy tanks move in probably a good 4 or 5 clips after they should be.
Yeah.
So it's hard to actually close that distance, I think.
Yeah, it can be. Now, we have to also take into account why Noble is doing exactly what they're doing. They're putting that T-32 there as position, but look at what they're doing with it. They're putting 2 light tanks on cap. That's Tuxzilla and Sovereign Zool. Between the two of them, they're difficult to spot already, but Simple Tankers are going to be afraid of taking fire to stop that cap. They're sending in some forces. Kraft Lawrence is on his way, but he's almost down. One shell will finish him. And Zakum goes for that one Hail Mary shot. Yeah, I think he might have time for one more shell to stop the cap. If he can connect this can save Simple Tankers for now and give them some time. He will miss, and with 1 second left, we're going to have to wait for the confirmation on the cap. And shots fired. That is a winner of Noble. They do get the cap fast.
And gave up way too much space in that battle on steps. I mean, this is the standard, absolute standard that you see for steps aggressor versus defender. West side against east side, go for that screen cap, and it just felt like they didn't take them seriously, and they weren't properly deflecting that well enough. And as you said, keeping them honest, right? A lot of times Simple Tankers is like, oh, they're not really going for a cap. They're just doing this to force an engagement. Let's slow down, guys, because there's no way they're going to put multiple tanks on. The T-32 was all the way up, right? So that's normally an indicator to tell them, oh, this is a pretty big screen. It's only one tank that's going to be up there, and they're going to go off cap as soon as the attack commences. Guess what? They didn't go off cap as soon as the attack commenced.
I think that Simple Tankers assumed they would be able to put some fire on cap in the usual places that are difficult to spot. And usually you can make those hits. T-32s know where the best positions are on cap, the safest ones, the ones that are hardest to spot. And they couldn't make those connections.
Yeah.
That's what they needed to do. It's the one part of the strategy they were depending on. They were depending on people to make blind shots onto tanks they can't see, which is actually rather difficult from many perspectives, but from the perspective of simple tankers, they had the expectation that their players would be able to consistently perform when required to do this.
It definitely takes a lot of practice, I would say, to, go into training games, make sure there are tanks there and say, hey, did I hit you or did I not? And I would even say, and be a little bit harsh, and say the tanks from Noble, they're at the same places that you should normally always be if you're capping, right?
Yeah.
It's like that small, tiny little defilade, and also it's like perfectly out of vision from a lot of places.
Exactly. Now, as we move into game number 6, as Noble has finally put a point on the board, we're going to see that Noble brings a T-32, 1390, 4 RU-251s, and again Tuxilla in the 5916. On the other side, Simple Tankers, a T-32 and a Pershing, a little more mobility here. 1390, 3 RU-251s, and a T-37. So instead of that really just a 2-part lineup with T-32's RUs, they're deciding to add some variance in there, increase their flexibility, and now it's a different strat altogether, actually. So this isn't really a shift of what they were doing last time. This is just different altogether. They're going to head west to try and meet Noble and go for that brawl, where they have been winning when it comes to those 1v1s or small group fights. If they do that here, they could just close it out.
It could, but normally when Noble sees this, they're just going to rotate over to the east side. I do want to mention that there is that one tank who's all the way on the top right-hand side.
That would be, I believe, Kraft Lawrence, because he... Yep, that's him, T-37, not a part of the brawl usually. He's kind of the flanker. He's going to make sure that nothing is happening where they're not watching, nothing on the other side of the map. They won't get caught by surprise.
I just feel like it's so hard for Noble to really establish some sort of advantage, push into this position, just because, I mean, they're not going to be able to screen cap, obviously. They have to go for a straight-up brawl, and Simple Tankers will just have the defender's advantage. Right now, the HP advantage does go to Simple Tankers ever so slightly, just based on compositions. That's why I just swing over to the east side, try to screen that. It's possible. You can get a battle over there, and then you almost take the defender's advantage by capping the screen, or screening the cap.
Screening the cap and then capping behind that.
Correct.
Yeah. So they could go for that, but because they've set up on the west side already and they've been detected, if they leave right now, that's a tell. Because they'll see those tanks going away that are spotted. They won't see them re-engage for an extended period of time, which is just obvious, right? They've left. They're gone. Okay, if they come back,
well,
whatever.
There are the tanks that are spotted right now, they're actually maintaining in that position until they go dark, it looks like.
Good. Although they can't maintain their engagement for too long.
Yeah.
Although, no, actually, wait, here you go. Noble strategy. You keep Zombie Food and Enfield in the engagement. You keep them there holding the attention of Simple Tankers. Other tanks don't show up for a while. That might become suspicious, but if they can act quick enough, then we're looking at a situation where Noble might be able to take that far cap.
I think so, man.
They will be detected, though. Kraft Lawrence is over there.
And as soon as... Okay, so what do you do if you're actually detected here? Because you don't know what tank or how many tanks are actually spotting you here. And we're going to find out when Tuxilla and Sovereign Tool do get spotted. But do you just go for the cap pressure? Okay, there it is.
Angry White Guy has shifted over as well. Executus joins him soon. And so you're going to have 3 tanks ready to receive this attack.
They see Kraft Lawrence. Kraft Lawrence is actually in a really nice spot. I love this spot over here in the mid right-hand or top right-hand corner.
Yeah,
it just gives them the ability to duck behind and also spot, obviously. But Tuxilla and Sovereign Tool are going to go ahead and isolate that one tank.
It's a trap, though. Angry White Guy's covering this position, but he doesn't make the connection. And that's going to hurt. This might actually really allow for Noble to get some advantage here, although they are taking a lot of damage now. There's the connection from Simple Tankers, and they might be trading Tuxilla for Kraft Lawrence.
Oh my gosh, Tuxilla! Oh, he was almost reloaded there.
And here comes the rest of Noble. They're going to go for the kill, see what they can get, but they are going to start taking fire as everyone from Simple Tankers is moving south.
That's right. All right, Kraft Lawrence is finally going to die.
And he took long enough, really.
Remember, that T-32 that was over in the mid left-hand position, look at how long it takes him to move all the way over to the right. I mean, he is still just trying to get into position to do damage. And meanwhile, the rest of the team, they need to just back up, get out of here, and reposition. But they've already burned over half the game. 3 minutes left so far in this battle, and they still don't have a clear plan on how they want to win.
Yeah, and now as they retreat, Major Issues, Zombie Food are going to start taking fire. So you're losing more hit points because of a failed maneuver. Major Issues is even caught out in the open, takes more fire. One more shell will finish him off. Is anyone going to be able to get it? Tofu zeroes up, but Angry White Guy's going to get that. And now Noble is in full flight. They have to try and salvage the situation and hope that Simple Tankers gets greedy. If Simple Tankers doesn't, they've got the win in the bag already.
Yeah. Man, they're doing such a good job at keeping in mind where Anfield is at all times. I mean, Anfield is in the center of the map. Now, he has like pretty decent shots on a lot of guys, but they've been able to just duck behind cover and make sure that they're standing strong against any of that T-32 fire, which in general is going to be a lot more accurate. But as it stands, I think they're actually going to go for a cap in the top and force a brawl up in the center top and get around like B and C5.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Go to the Charlie 3 cap, make something happen there. Maybe take a few tanks to the north. Hopefully, Simple Tankers is far enough behind that you can set up your crossfires to punish them and bring things back into order. You have to do about 2k in hit points in order to get this one back into at least an even footing for Noble. If they can do something after that, that would be phenomenal. But I think a fast cap is all they're hoping for.
Yep. They have to go for this. Zombie Food is spotted. Oh, a lot of damage being done to these guys as they're just out in the open. Anfield might try to cover for them. It looks like he is.
That's not going to work for very long. These guys can get other angles and just continue to cover him. Unknown One's got a perfect shot. He's going to continue putting damage in until Enfield finally gets an order. Bananas goes down. There's not enough tanks to make the fast cap. Enfield is one of the crucial tanks to get cap points.
And look at Executus. What a hero, man. He just doesn't care. Blue Stealth's going to be taken out now. And that's going to be the end of Noble, ladies and gentlemen. Simple Tankers will take this battle 5-1, knocking Noble out of any contention spots for the playoffs. Very unfortunate for them.
Are they completely out? I'll actually have to check. I want to make sure. Noble is now, they're sitting with 16 points, right? So they were able to achieve 25 at max. I mean, there's still a chance. They're not completely done yet. It depends on other teams, though, right? More than it depends on them being able to get the points they need. If they get wins, yeah, they get in, but
it's probably like the things that they need to do. It's probably like, I would say 5 or 10%, because you're basically hoping that any of the lower league teams or the lower teams
in the standings, yeah,
get no points, and also there's no other teams that ascend to higher points at all either.
You're right about that.
It's a very tough thing to happen, and right now it's out of their hands to begin with. But I would say probably like less than 5% of them actually making it to playoffs.
That's a really thin chances. There's still a chance for them. I mean, there's still a chance.
It's super low though.
Okay.
It's super, and I'm sure mathematically it's going to be even worse than 5%.
Really?
If I do it all out, I was thinking about it, but if we look at it, I mean, Noble is sitting with 16 points. The top 10 right now, as it stands, are 18 points, and they have an extra game on all the other teams that haven't played so far. So 18 points, and you're already a battle or a match up. I mean, it's a tough situation when you only have 2 matches left. You're hoping the other teams are losing and not gaining any points at all.
So they're just living on a prayer.
They're living on a prayer. Bon Jovi.
That was what I was going for.
He knows.
Yeah, I think you figured that one out.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That's match number 1 for tonight. Our second match of tonight will be featuring Roulette versus Timed Out. Roulette is another team that really needs to do work in order for them to make it to the playoffs. We're going to be back after this short break. Don't go anywhere. You're watching WGLNA.